Boomers, we're back in the kitchen again. As you kind of are aware, we're going to be making some pesto once again. This is fresh basil I just harvested from the garden. You want to get a fair amount of fresh basil. We're going to take it, wash it, put it through the salad spinner, and then we're going to dry it. Of course, we have our olive oil, two different types. This is a special olive oil from the Liguria. I think you'll find this one interesting. Right now, we're toasting some pine nuts here at the stove. They're almost ready. You don't want to burn them. You just want to heat them up and get them a little brown. In fact, these are about ready to shut down. So I'm going to leave them in the pan. They'll continue cooking. Over here, we've roasted some garlic. And as I mentioned during the last time we did one of these, by roasting the garlic, you take a lot of bitterness away. It enhances the flavor and taste of your pesto. Right, so, like everything else, you just have to take care, follow instructions. We're going to use the blender, not the pestle and mortar. We're going to use Pecorino Romano, and this doesn't look like Parmigiano Reggiano, but we're going to use some Parmesan and some Pecorino Romano. Blend them two together, all right? So another one of the things you should do before you wash it is pick off the leaves. I don't like to use any of the stems. So I would recommend you can use a small knife, you can pull them, but cut the leaves that you're going to wash, ultimately wash and dry. Cut them off. Get rid of anything that's been bug eaten, something that doesn't look all that good, but just manually go through and pick all the nice, you want nice, green, crisp. You don't want any rotten ones, you don't want any with bugs on it, you don't want any that have been discolored or yellow, holes in it. You want to pick the nicest leaves you can pick. And again, as I said, it's just like doing spinach. Some chefs will cook it with the I like to cut the stems off. Some chefs will cook spinach with the stem on and eat it all, but you can do the same thing here because the blender will obviously chop it up. Remember, we're not trying to make a lot of pesto. We're trying to make small batch pesto, good quality, high gourmet, and so usually what I'll do is I get 3 cups of basil, and we have a half a cup of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. We have some salt and pepper, maybe half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of olive oil, and then the pine nuts. Let's see how the pine nuts fare. Well, the pine nuts look good. They really did cook up nice. I don't know if you can see that. Taste a couple. Make sure they're fresh. Make sure they're sufficiently roasted as well. After we're done with this, we'll go to the sink. We'll wash these. Once we're done washing them, we'll put them in the salad spinner, and that's where we'll get all the excess water removed. So, and tell you there's a couple different ways to grate cheese. One way, my wife's preferred way, particularly when we have guests, is to cut it up in small pieces and put it in this. This is the kind of, usually at restaurants, particularly Italian restaurants, they'll serve it this way. I find this to be very cumbersome. First of all, you got to cut the cheese into a small piece. Then you got to, depending on whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you got to change this. I guess I could solve that problem by putting it on the other side, but or holding it upside down and turning it round and round. It's one way to grate your Pecorino Romano and your Parmesan. Another way is to just take a grater like this, decide which one is the best. It doesn't have to be too fine because it's going in the blender anyhow, and the blender will take care of the rest of it. So anyhow, that's what I recommend. I recommend you do this. The more ingredients that you have ready to go before you start that food processor, the easier this process is going to be. And again, it's not that hard. It's just a little labor intensive, and you will have to invest some time in that. All right, let's put that away for the time being. Let's go back to our other job at hand. I said what you want to do is cut your leaves off and be sure that you thoroughly wash them. So the next thing we're going to do is let these sit a while longer. We're going to cut a few more of these. We're going to get a second batch washed in the sink. Then we're going to put it through the salad spinner. That's a great way to get rid of the excess water. We'll dry it on a cookie sheet using paper towels, 2 or 3 hours to let it dry. You don't want to put any wet basil in the processor because it's just going to water down. Basically, it's just going to water down your basil, your pesto. You want some nice, strong, fresh pesto. Now, you can see the quality of this pesto I got outside, and you can see the pesto I got from the front porch. Even though we watered this every day, the excess heat on the front deck made this wilted. You want to smell the basil. I'm not going to use this one. It's not going to give me high quality pesto. It's just not as fresh. When you smell the basil, you want to smell a lot of aroma, a lot of very, very pronounced. It's one of the things we can't do here. We can do 1080 and 4K, but we can't make it smell at your end. But you want to have a lot of aroma, freshness, a brightness. You want to see the same colors in the leaves. All right, that's it for now. All right, as I said, try to avoid any wilted, any discolored, any obviously brown, or any basil leaves that look like they might have any kind of form of insects, bugs, larvae, whatever. You want to avoid those. This second batch that I've peeled and cut is being washed right now. And you should probably do this over the sink, but I don't want to move the camera around, so I'm going to show you. Alright, so after the second wash is done, in the salad spinner, remove all the excess water. It's a very good idea, the second washing. Gets rid of anything you might have missed the first time around. Now I tend to use small leaves and big leaves. I'm not a large leaf denier, let's say. Small leaves are going to give you some tender flavor. So don't avoid small leaves either. As long as it's clean and green. Clean, green, and fresh, it's going to go into the mixture, all right? I'm sure you've seen these salad spinners. You just push down on top. Centrifugal force spins it around. All the excess water gets driven out of the side. You have to do this a couple times also. 2 times is sufficient. Yes, I use the 7-second rule. Once we're done with this, which we washed earlier, I have it drying on a cookie sheet. As I said earlier, use some paper towels. Roll paper towels on the bottom, paper towels on top. I'm pretty confident now that we got rid of almost all the water. Get that out of your way. Now, we're almost ready, but this has to dry. So we're going to take another roll of paper towels and put it on top. What you can do at some point here, if you want to, is you could roll this up. You could roll both levels up like so. Press out some more of the water, but you don't want to damage the basil. You don't want to get any of the nice. You don't want to crush the leaves. You want to save that for later, right? But this will help. This will help a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do, since it's 85 degrees outside, is I'm just going to move this whole tray to outside. Put it on the deck. Put it on my outdoor Take this outside. I'm going to let this dry for a couple hours. When it's done, while it's drying, I'll finish grating the cheese. I'll get my proportions together. And we have a little secret ingredient this year. We're going to use 1 ounce of lemon juice to finish. So, stay tuned. We're going to be right back to you. Hey Boomers, welcome back to the channel. Boomer Ranger Ron here, your host today. We're pursuing pesto perfection once again this year. As I said earlier, we went out to the garden. We picked a lot of basil. We washed it thoroughly. We ran it through the salad spinner. We dried it out using paper towels on a tray. Most of the recipes I've done so far have always been pretty consistent, but I've made pesto so many times now that I don't really bother measuring anymore. Measuring is kind of something you don't really have to do once you get comfortable with something. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, pinch of this, pinch of that. Some salt, some pepper. Go easy on the salt because the Pecorino Romano and the Parmesan cheese both have a high content of salt. So when you do go to your salt, I'm going to keep my salt in this little container here. You just grab a little pinch of extra salt, right? A little dab of pepper. We're using both the combination Italian extra virgin olive oil from Whole Foods, they're 365, but especially in my small batch that I'm making today, we're using this olive oil that's specific from the Ligurian region of Italy. That's northern Italy, also known as Cinque Terre, the 5 towns. We roasted the garlic out on the grill, covered it up nicely, added some olive oil, added some balsamic vinegar, roasted it to the point where you could squeeze out each of the cloves, and it takes away the bitterness. It makes it much softer taste. We got our pinoli, that's pine nuts in English, Italians call it pinoli. So that's basically what you need. You need basil, some garlic, some Pecorino Romano cheese, some pine nuts, and some olive oil. That's it. We're going to add at the end, the very end, a little touch of lemon. It's supposed to add a little bit more flavor as well. Never done that before. This will be the first time. All right, so some of the experts, some of the chefs say you really should start first. I don't know that this is necessarily true, but let's put 4 cloves of roasted garlic in. Let's add some pinoli nuts. And let's give that a whirl. Now, not much is going to happen really, because you don't have enough going on in there. So, go back to my original idea. Let's add some basil. Let's add some basil. Let's add a very small touch of salt. Let's add some olive oil. Let's add a little bit of cheese. And what did we forget? We need to add some more. I think you need enough ingredients to get down to the blades. And if you don't have enough ingredients to get down to the blades, nothing's going to chop. If you're going to use regular garlic unroasted, you definitely need to put the olive oil in there with the garlic and blend it up nice and neat. Or better yet, take your garlic, put it on a plate, on a cutting board, add some salt, chop it up, smash it, make a garlic puree, and then you won't have to go through all these extra steps. All right, I am ready. That was about a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. Now, we're going to get a wooden spoon. Small wooden spoon. You got to be very careful with these wooden spoons. You don't want to push it too far down. move everything over here just to be sure we are completely in this camera range. Alright, so from time to time, stop the food processor. Actually, this is a blender, not a food processor. As I said earlier, we're not using the pesto mortar that's popular in Italy. I'm going to try to save a little bit of this olive oil for another dish I'm making tomorrow. My tomato caprese. It's a good hors d'oeuvre to get started with a meal. Half a cup more of Parmesan cheese, a little more oil. Put the top on and let her rip. See how you get more weight in here between the olive oil and the extra layers of basil. It's starting to push the ingredients down to where the blade is. That's what you need. And you can see she's coming together nicely right now, right? Make sure we keep this thing tight so there's no leaks. Nice, it's coming out nice. Now, what I would recommend you do, toast a little piece of bread, and we're going to taste this. We're going to see what it tastes like. See if it needs any adjustments. Shut this off for right now. Grab a piece of toast, a piece of bread. I like a hard crusted bread, but with lack of a hard crusted bread, you can use a cracker. I think the end of the bread comes in really handy. We'll toast that up a little bit, and you can also just plain reach in there and taste it. That is what we call pesto, basil pesto. Very simple ingredients: pine nuts, olive oil, basil, some roasted garlic, and some pecorino romano blend with Parmesan cheese. Oh, this is delightful. Now, because we roasted the garlic, there's no bitter garlic taste here, and it doesn't look like we're going to need any more. It really doesn't look like we're going to need any more oil. There's plenty of oil. Typically, what I'll do is I'll fill up a container like this, and then cap it off with a little bit of oil on top. Put it in the refrigerator. It'll last for a week like this. I want to keep it longer. I get a small container. I'll run out to Stop and Shop and buy some plastic Tupperware, little ones. Fill them up, put them in the freezer. Last for months or years. Typically this pesto is put on pasta, but you can also put it on chicken. You can put it on fish. Get creative with this. It's a delicious, delicious alternative to some of the other red blend. All right, she didn't get totally fully toasted, but that's okay. Let's see what this is like. Perfetto in Italian. It's perfect, just like it is. So that's a wrap. Now you know how to get all your ingredients together and get some perfect pesto. Oh, one more thing I did say. Let's add just a touch. Let's add just a touch of lemon. About 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. think that'll help quite a bit. That'll give us an interesting new flavor. I've not done that before. Alright, boomers. Thank you again for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please share it with friends and family. We'd love to have you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content we have coming up. It's going to be a busy fall this year. We're going to be doing a lot of bow hunting, shotgun hunting, muzzleloader hunting. Hopefully we'll have some recipes on some venison that you'll really like. That's all for now. Thank you.